Hey there everyone, how are you guys doing today? My name is Joe Marion and I am from MobileCupOfJoe.com, and in this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe, I'm going to be giving you my full video review for the LG G2 on Verizon Wireless. So guys, the LG G2 is one of the biggest flagship phones of 2013. The G2 is the latest flagship device from LG, and in terms of raw hardware specifications, this thing is an absolute beast. With things like a quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor, a 5.2-inch 1080p Full HD display, as you can see right there, a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera with optical image stabilization, and so much more, this phone has hardware specs to spare. But does the software experience and the build quality of it stand true and stand up to the hardware specs and make for an overall enjoyable experience? And is this the phone where you're going to be comfortable plopping down a couple $100 and staying with you for the next couple years on a 2-year contract? We're going to find out right now in the full video review for the LG G2 on Verizon Wireless on Mobile Cup of Joe. But before we go any further, please go ahead and grab that coffee cup, fill it up, bring it over, and sit on down. Take a swig for a Mobile Cup of Joe. Alrighty, so here we go with my full review for the LG G2 on Verizon Wireless. A couple notes before we get going. One, big thanks to our friends and partners at Verizon for hooking us up with this phone right here to review for you guys today. And another thing, our microphone is still working. We're still having a few technical issues with it, so we're going to have to use the microphone built in on the camcorder for the audio in our videos right now. So we do apologize for the audio quality in our future few videos, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the review for the LG G2. Now, in terms of a design and build quality point of view, really not all that pleased with what we got going on here for the G2. The first con that I have with the phone is that the plastic body feels extremely cheap. Plastic is no stranger to the manufacturing and the building of smartphones, but I just really found that the type of plastic LG used on the G2 felt incredibly cheap and very poor. You can see right here, just to note one other thing, that this thing attracts fingerprints like a bad mother trucker. I just wiped this phone off a few minutes ago, and just from the time of handling the device before we filmed this review, you can see that it has attracted an entire ton of fingerprints on the glossy back right here. You can also see there's a bit of a little design pattern when you hit the light reflects off the back in a certain way. We saw the same design pattern in the original LG Optimus G. We're seeing that again here on the G2. Now, the original Optimus G had a full glass back, which, while it was a bit more fragile than the plastic backing here on the G2, I did kind of like it more because at least the glass had a better, more premium feeling in the hand. When you hold the LG G2, it just feels like a cheap phone by LG that doesn't really feel like a flagship device. Honestly, Samsung Galaxy S4, I personally thought that was a nicely built product. It was that hyperglaze plastic, but it felt good in the hand to me. The G2 just feels like a big, cheap phone. Another issue I had with the design is actually one of the biggest parts of the phone, and that is the placement of the hardware physical buttons. Normally on smartphones, as an example with the Blue Life Play right here, you can see that our power button and lock button and our volume rocker are both on the right hand side of the phone. With smartphones, you're usually on the right side like it is on the Blue Life Play, or the power button will be up on the top, somewhere like that. That's just how smartphone designs have been pretty much since smartphones have ever existed. LG said screw that with the G2, and they put the hardware buttons on the back of the device because they said that it's a more ergonomic grip when you hold it like this, that your index finger will naturally rest right there to get the hardware buttons. Now, personally, I hold my phone like this, where my hand holds the bottom part of the phone. I really have never held the phone like this to where my index finger naturally touches the back area right there. So I had to hold the phone differently from what I'm used to actually control the volume or adjust or lock the screen, and that to me was very inconvenient. Having a phone like a Blue Life Play with a normal placement of the hardware buttons where I can just slide my thumb right there and adjust the volume right there, I find that completely comfortable. LG, I have to give them some props for trying something different with the design of the phone, but I often found that I went to just adjust the volume on the phone, I'd often bump the power button or lock button right here, and that got very annoying. So you can see that the power button is placed right smack dab in the middle of the volume up and the volume down buttons. Again, you have to give LG some credit for trying to be a little bit different with their design for the G2, but I personally just felt like it was a poor placement, very unnatural, and hopefully we don't see LG continue with this in their future smartphones. Now, with those two cons out of the way, let's get into some pros of the device, because it certainly is packing many of those. My first pro on the list is that the 5.2-inch 1080p Full HD screen is one of the best displays we have ever seen. Packing in 424 pixels per inch 1920 by 1080p Full HD LCD display. Guys, the screen is absolutely gorgeous. You can see right there just the color and representation of it. Again, not going to be able to get the full effect since we upload our videos in a max of 720p HD, but the detail on this phone and on the display is incredible. Another thing that really makes the display stand out is that the bezels, rather the lack there of the bezels, you can see that there is virtually no bezel area here. It's pretty much just the screen and then the end of the phone. You look on a normal smartphone like this, I'm using the Blue Life Play again for an example, and you see you've got quite a bit of distance between the screen and the end of the phone. Well, on the LG G2, you've got screen and then the end of the phone right there. Edge-to-edge display. LG was able to get the bezels so small because of the placement of the hardware buttons, so there is that pro going for them. Since there are no buttons on the sides or the frame of the phone on the left or the right, they were able to shrink the bezels to a very minuscule size, probably the thinnest and the tiniest bezels we have ever seen on a smartphone. Swiping through the home screen of the G2, browsing the web, playing games, streaming video looks downright incredible on the display. Again, one of the best we have ever seen. Incredible, incredible, incredible display. Really is one of the best on the market that you are going to find. Another area where the LG G2 shines is its processing speeds. It's got a quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 CPU, clocked at 2.26 gigahertz, which in the advertisements you're going to see it rounded up to 2.3 gigahertz. Either way, 2.26 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 800 CPU, along with 2 gigabytes of RAM, makes this phone incredibly fast. So fast that you just kind of smile when you use it. Qualcomm's Snapdragon 800 processor is just an absolute beast of a processing horsepower. Processing horsepower, just words that sound fast. We're going to go ahead and play a little game of Riptide GP2 here for you guys, just so you can kind of get a visual representation of how the processing speeds are here on the G2. Now, I'm not saying that there is never instances of lag. Cannot talk today, and it's hump day. Probably not going to be hump day by the time the video is uploaded, but it's hump day today, and I cannot talk at all. Working for the weekend, though. Getting back on topic, again, you're going to notice some lag here and there, as you will with any phone, but the G2, incredibly fast performer. You can see here with Riptide GP2, very graphically intense game, and we're not seeing really any stuttering or any screen tearing, any lag whatsoever. All those effects going on the screen, the phone can handle it, because it is just an absolute beast. I'm probably repeating myself over and over again, but I cannot stress how fast the phone is. Between playing games, streaming video, and browsing the web, the G2, lag and slowness really aren't words in the vocabulary for the LG G2. Another really, really high point for me with the phone is its 13 megapixel rear-facing camera on the back with flash and optical image stabilization, or OIS for short. Now, what optical image stabilization does, aside from the fact that it is very rare to see that on a smartphone, OIS stabilizes your photos, so if you have a shaky hand or something, it will stabilize the images and make them incredibly sharp and incredibly detailed, as you can see right here. Another thing with the display, look at just how much the pictures pop here on this phone. To get a better idea for how the camera does perform, make sure you check out our written review on www.mobilecupofjoe.com. There will be a link to the written review in the description below to check out these pictures on our website. But I was just blown away with the quality here of the camera on the LG G2. Can easily stack up to the camera found on the Samsung Galaxy S4, which is one of the best cameras on a smartphone I have seen to date. Just overall, so impressed with the quality I saw here with the camera for the LG G2. Colors represented incredibly accurately, details and photos are just crisp and sharp. Really, no complaints for the camera whatsoever here. I took numerous photos, I had an absolute blast shooting with this phone, never got tiring, and it just takes beautiful pictures. There's really not much else to say. So if you are a big photo bug, definitely check out the G2. And really between the display, processing speeds, and the camera, there's a lot of big stuff going for this phone. Another pro I had with it is the surprisingly great call quality. LG isn't one of those phone manufacturers where you think of them, like, oh yeah, LG has great call quality on their phones. We've had some pretty bad call quality on past LG devices, but overall, I was quite impressed with the call quality we got on the G2. People we talked to said that we were loud and clear. Everyone on our end was incredibly crystal clear as well. So really do have to give some more kudos to LG for such nice call quality. Since this device is the one on Verizon Wireless, we had access to Verizon's 4G LTE coverage zone. Our download speeds averaged out with 4G LTE at around 24 megabits per second, and our upload speeds averaged out at around 6 megabits per second as well. And then keep in mind that call quality and your data speeds will vary by your location, but overall pleased with the call quality and data speeds found here on the LG G2. Now, all good things must come to an end, and I've got a few more cons to throw at the G2. One of those is the battery life. Now, the G2 is packing in a 3,000 milliamp hour non-removable battery, which I had heard excellent things about. Unfortunately, I had some pretty big issues with the battery here on the G2. In one of my full days of use with the phone, I was able to squeeze out 15 hours and 32 minutes of usage time with heavy to moderate texting, social networking, emailing, streaming YouTube videos, and playing Riptide GP2. With that said, I did run into some pretty big issues on another day of full use with the phone. On my other full day of use with the phone, I only got 8 hours and 22 minutes of total usage time from the G2. Now, this included the exact same usage as the previous day that I just mentioned, with the inclusion of about 30 minutes of continuous picture taking. I ran into the same type of inconsistent battery drainage throughout my entire week of using the phone, and for a phone whose other hardware specs are all at the top of their game, it was very disappointing to see the battery perform so weakly here on the G2. Now, your battery drainage time is going to vary depending on your usage, but from the usage that I used on the G2 and further at the rate the battery drained and now how inconsistent it was, really was sad to see it. Now, I will say that I did get some great days out of it. Like I said, one day I got over 15 hours of usage time out of it, but to drop down to about 8 hours and less than 8.5 hours on another day, really not sure if you can rely on this battery life. And again, I ran into these issues throughout my entire week of using the phone, so I will say be warned because was not really impressed or pleased with the battery life on the LG G2. Now let's go ahead and move into some software of the phone. Now, just to confirm real quick, let's hop into our About phone, into our settings. So you can see, we'll go to software information, that the phone is running Android version 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. All your Jelly Bean goodness right here on the G2. LG has said, or at least I'm pretty sure they've said, that they are planning to upgrade the G2 to Android 4.4 KitKat in the near future. Not sure when it's going to happen, but for the time being, 4.2.2 Jelly Bean is what you're rocking here on the G2. Now, you wouldn't be able to tell that because LG has heavily customized the overall Android experience with their Optimus user interface. You can see that the icons are drastically changed, and everything has a very cartoony look and feel to it. I know I've liked LG's user interface over time. Maybe it's just a change in preference. I'm not sure, but I really had a hard time getting used to LG's user interface this time around with the G2. It just feels incredibly bloated and intrusive here on the phone. One of the best examples for how the software really isn't that great on the G2 is how it handles multitasking. The G2 has 3 separate ways of multitasking on it. The standard and the easiest one to use is the standard multitasking feature. On Android, hold down the home button and you've got your list of recently used applications here. If I want to hop into my gallery, boom, hop there, go home. Hold down the home button when I hop into my settings, boom, I'm there, go home. It's simple, it's fast, it works. Well, LG has included 2 separate ways to multitask. One of those is quick Q-Slide apps. So you can see here on my notifications, I've got these Q-Slide apps such as Rich Note, Video, Email, Phone, Voicemate, File Manager, calendar, and calculator. So say I want to open my calculator, tap on that, and I get a mini calculator app that opens right here. Say I want to open my calendar, pop it open, boom, right there, multitasking. While it seems useful on paper, I never use this feature. I toyed around with it a bit just for the purpose of being able to say that I did use it, but it really doesn't work. I mean, it works fine, but it's just not as convenient as it is to just use the standard multitasking feature that you have with normal Android. And there's a third way of multitasking with the G2, and that is with slide aside. So let's say that I want to open up my Instagram. Open it up, and let's say I want to close it. 3 swipes. Take 3 fingers and swipe to the left that way. Then let's say I want to open up Google Play Music. Then I want to close it, take 3 fingers, and swipe it that way. Then let's say I want to open up the Play Store. Click it, take 3 fingers, slide that way. Now let's say I want to open those applications back up. Take 3 fingers, slide this way, and there they are, and you can hop into them like that. Why this feature is here, I'm not sure. Why the heck it's present on the phone, I don't know. Why we need 3 different ways of multitasking on the phone, I'm not sure. Now, you may appreciate the choice of multitasking and the choice of software features you have present to you on the G2, but personally, I think they just get in the way of the overall experience. You have other software features on it, including Rich Note, Quick Remote, Quick Translator, Notebook, VoiceMate, Smart Screen, Smart Video, and so much more. Essentially, think of the Samsung Galaxy S4 at the rate they packed in all the features. The G2 is exactly like that. Just going through your home screens and browsing the phone feels like a very bloated and very obtrusive experience, and it really does make me miss that buttery, vanilla feel of stock Android. Now, some people may really dig LG's custom tweaks to Android, but for me personally, in the G2, just felt like they were obtrusive, and they got in the way, and they just took away from my enjoyment of the phone. Now, with all that said, I ended up giving the LG G2 an 8 out of 10. While I did have my issues with the software and with the build quality, guys, that display, the processing speeds, and the camera really carry this phone to greatness. If there had been a better work in the design and LG had maybe left Android a bit more how it should be in its vanilla state, then this one would have easily gotten a 9 or a 10. But with those issues of the build quality and with the software, I did have to dock at 2 points, but I decided to keep it at an 8 because, again, incredible processing speeds, one of the best displays we've ever seen, and one of the best cameras I've ever seen on a smartphone. For those reasons, the LG G2 is an incredible phone in terms of the hardware, but it just has some issues with the software and with the build quality. If you're in the market for a new smartphone for someone you know this year for the holiday season, if they like using a lot of games on their phone, they're using it consistently to play games, they love big bright displays or photo bugs, this might be a good choice for them. Just keep in mind the issues with the battery and the plastic build design and see what kind of techie person they are in terms of Android software. But this is still definitely a phone that is worth checking out. Keep in mind that there are other choices out there, including the HTC One, the Apple iPhone 5S, the Google and LG Nexus 5, Samsung Galaxy S4, Samsung Galaxy Note 3, HTC One Max. There are a ton of choices this holiday season. The G2 is definitely worth checking out. It's not going to be for everyone, but it is still one that is worth taking a look at and is still worth your time. So there you go, that is my full review for the LG G2. Guys, if you have the LG G2, please let me know what you think of it in the comments below and what you think of my review as well. If you liked the video, please go ahead and hit the like button if you liked it. It takes 1 second to do so and it really does help support the show. And if you want to show your support towards the show even more, I would really appreciate it if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more Mobile Cup of Joe videos. Guys, Mobile Cup of Joe, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Google+, we're everywhere on the web. All your social networking sites, Mobile Cup of Joe is there as well. I am Joe Marin for MobileCupOfJoe.com. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, weekend, have a wonderful whatever, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.